Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the CMAQ and TAP Project Selection Committee to order. Go around the room and just introduce ourselves. My name is Doug Ferguson with CMAP.
Grant Davis. Grant Davis with CDOT. Krishman, IDOT.
Tom Rickard with Kane County. How's this echoing?
John Paul Deepla, FHWA.
All right, thank you.
Tom Rickard, I'm sorry, with Kane County representing the counties.
Thanks, Tom. Hopefully that mic will work for you. Every once in a while you get a bad one. So there are no agenda changes or announcements to today's meeting. Are there any announcements from committee members? All right, seeing none, move on to approval of the minutes. The draft minutes from May 15th meeting were included in your meeting materials today. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Thanks, Grant. Second?
Second.
Thanks. Any changes, comments on the minutes? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are passed. Moving on to program monitoring 4.0. Included in your materials are the status sheets for the three different programs, CMAQ, CRP, and TAP-L. Staff are able to answer any questions, but these are just for informational purposes if you have any. Seeing none, we'll move on to the CMAQ program summary and obligation goal. I would like to point out in the obligation section, we have to date, or as of August 8th, we have obligated almost 118 million in CMAQ, which is good. Now, 82.5 of that came from transfers to FTA projects, and then there was 35 million that was converted from the advanced construction. Just pausing here for a second. Mark Pitstick is joining us from RTA.
Was the trains running late?
Welcome, Mark.
Sorry, that was low hanging fruit. Is there any reason to put the FTA transfer on this chart or no?
Sorry, say that again.
I realize in my head now it's down already, but since to have it on here, does anybody care?
What do you mean, like as far as
Just showing it as what's been transferred to date or whatever?
I mean, we just count those as obligations since they come off the FHWA balance. It's kind of like we have it tabulated like it's just off sheet. Like
okay, yeah. I mean,
if you feel that that's something that would be,
I didn't know if it would be a benefit. It's interesting that you say that how much has been, and I appreciate that you say that.
Yeah, we had three large FTA projects that went in State and Lake. Let's see, Pace's Dempster had about 5 million, and then the other one was Metra Locomotive.
Very cool. Yeah, I didn't know if that would be of benefit to the committee or for purposes of.
I mean, we can look at it, trying to show it as a separate, like under the obligation at the bottom table, we could probably like break them out into two separate sections. I mean,
if nobody else finds it interesting, I don't. You don't need to make work for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, Mark.
Thanks. Yeah, I did want to comment on this. So the programming, the current obligations to date this year is, $118 million. So that's pretty good, right? There's a lot of recent ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because last time we had a meeting, we were really low, under 50 or something like that, right?
Right. No, we had several, like, because we haven't met since May 15th.
Yeah.
There were two large FTA transfers that happened at the end of May.
And so that amount is close to, if our annual goal, if we averaged it, would be around 130 million, right? I mean, this first year is higher because we've rolled over a bunch, right? So we're kind of caught up to a normal year, but we still have some some rollover that we need to get through, right?
Right.
Got
No,
Another month or so left, right?
You're 100% correct. We've almost met like what would be our apportionment for the year. There's, I think from a state perspective, there's about like a little over 2 million that's sitting unobligated. But yeah, we have previous funds that were transferred to other programs by IDOT, and they've indicated they would make us whole, but we have to spend down. So we came really close to asking them to reinstate those funds. If they were to convert, you'll notice that in the bottom table, there's advanced construction amounts. And while we typically don't see like advanced construction amount from the current year going, there's 37.8 million from prior years. Those could be converted at some point in time, and then we could eat into that unobligated balance.
And there's a small chance of that. I was just telling Grant, Samantha Bingham's got projects from 2001 or something, or not 2001, 2021, that if she were to get the things to me, we could see those go. It probably wouldn't be before the end of the federal fiscal, but that's
Right, no.
significant chunks.
Okay, and then I'm just also trying to tie this to the next agenda item, which is the program changes. We're shifting, there's a bunch of requests to shift some funds into earlier years, but that's 2026, and those aren't likely to be obligated right away in the next couple months, right? Those will be obligated next year, but not in the next.
Not this year, yeah.
Right, thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right. Moving on to 5.0, the project changes. I'm gonna have John come up and present those.
Good morning, all. This is quite far back today. We've had a number of changes for this meeting. There were 8 of them. There were 7 CMAQ change requests and 1 TAP-L change request. So if we move on to the next slide, we will see the first request, which is for the Cook County Department of Transportation Highways project, their Tui Ave and Union Pacific Railroad project, and it's 2 segments. So that's the first segment, and the second segment being the Elmhurst Road and Tui Ave project, which are being implemented together. It's currently programmed for $34,739,000 CMAQ, and that's for construction in 25. It's in AC currently because it's already hit a letting. And the sponsors are requesting an increase of an additional $6,441,650 CMAQ, and that's for construction in 25. As I said, the project has been let. The bids for construction exceeded the engineer's estimate. That's partially because the estimate was put together in 2013 when these 2 projects submitted applications for the CMAQ program. The 2 segments, when we went to re-rank these, the 2 segments, as I said, they were separate applications. So when we re-ranked them, we brought them together and ranked them against both their the intersection improvement category and the bottleneck elimination categories in the 14 to 18 program. And when we re-ranked them under that single project, it remained as a second ranked project out of 2 selected in the bottleneck elimination category, and as the 4th ranked project among the 8 selected projects in the intersection improvement category. So because of that, staff is recommending approval of the requested cost increase of the $6,441,650 CMAQ for construction in 25. If we move on to the next slide, we will see the request for Park Forest Metro Station Access Improvement Project. This project was awarded for the 26 through 2030 program for $250,000 CMAQ for engineering 2 in 29, $60,000 CMAQ for right-of-way in 29, and $2.2 million CMAQ for construction in 2030. The project is requesting a schedule change to advance the funding for engineering 2 and right-of-way from 2029 to 2027. Staff is recommending postponement for consideration of this request until later in federal fiscal year 26, when the project is closer to using its funding, and also when the 26 to 2030 program actually takes effect, when it goes to take effect in October of this year. If we move on to the next one, we'll see the Waukegan Metro Station Access Improvements Project. This is currently programmed for $40,000 CMAQ for engineering two and $168,704 CMAQ for construction 26, both of which are currently in deferment. So the project received design approval in June of 24 and is preparing to submit phase two engineering draft agreements. And that's why the sponsor is requesting the reinstatement of $40,000 and also an $8,000 cost increase for engineering two in 2026. Staff is recommending approval of the reinstatement and cost increase for a total of $48,000 CMAQ for engineering two in 2026. We move on to the next slide. This begins the few of the Metro changes. So this is for Metro Zero Emissions Locomotive Project, and it's programmed for 29 million CMAQ in 25, 20.9 million in 2027, and 119.3 million in 2028. The sponsor is requesting the schedule change to advance $72,575,000 CMAQ from 2028 to 2026. There is an ongoing contract on the project, which is anticipated to be expended by March of 2026, which is why this request is being made. And staff is recommending approval of this requested schedule advancement of the $72,575,000 CMAQ from 28 to 26, contingent on staff's ability to maintain fiscal constraint in those years. If we move on to the next slide, we'll see Metra's schedule advancement for its alternative fuel locomotives project. This project's programmed for $29,024,137 CMAQ for implementation in 2027. The project is requesting a schedule change to advance that funding from 2027 to 2026. A contract award for this project is anticipated in 2026. And that's going to require an advancement of funding into that year. So staff is, again, recommending approval of the requested schedule advancement from 2028 to 2026, just on the ability of staff to maintain fiscal constraint in those years. And then if we move on to the next one, this is the Metro's Edgebrook Access to Transit project, which is a part of RTA's Access to Transit program and projects. It's requesting for $800,000 to be transferred or advanced from 2029 to 2026. Staff's recommending postponing consideration of the request until November 25, since the project was newly added to the program and it doesn't take effect until October of this year. And then the same is, if we move on to the next slide, this is Metro's electric switch locomotives, which was also included in the 26 to 2030 program this year. And they're looking to advance 9.6 million from 29 to 26. And again, staff's recommending postponing consideration of this request until later this year, November 25, since the project was newly added to the program. And then if we move on to the next request, this is the one tap L request we have. It is for the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County's West Branch DuPage River Trail Connection Project. It's programmed for $3,610,134 tap L for construction. That's currently in deferment. And the project is requesting to reinstate that amount in 25, along with two cost increases. The first increase would be for engineering two for $124,941. And the second would be for construction for $2,290,905. The project submitted final plans in July of this year and are on track for the November 25 letting. The cost increase is due to multi-year delays in right-of-way acquisitions that cause increases in design costs and changes to construction estimates due to rising steel costs. Staff's recommending approval of the requested $124,941 cost increase for TAP L for E2 and the reinstatement and cost increases for construction for a total of $5,901,039 in 2025. And then if we move on to the next slide, this is the final changes that we've had since the last meeting in May. So since the July meeting got canceled, there were two reinstatements staff approved administratively. The first being for the Des Plaines River Trail at Union Pacific Railroad. That was for $5,093,000. Tab L for construction and construction engineering in 2025. And then the second being for the North Chicago Pace Bus Route Access Improvement Project for $63,176 CMAQ for engineering 2 in 2026. And with that, those are all the changes that are before you. Happy to take questions if there are any.
Thanks, John. So we have several changes here. Before we get into discussing them, do I have a motion to approve the staff recommendations? So moved. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. All right, let's dive into these. There's quite a few things going on here. I will state that with the two transfer requests for Metro that we're recommending approval, they're large sums. We've started looking at projects, what can be shifted. We're still working through that. So that's why we're saying contingent on being able to make space available under fiscal constraint in the TIP to advance those. But staff is we're fairly confident that we can do it, but it's a lot of different moving pieces. Questions, comments? Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, thanks. I'm generally supportive of this. I just want to clarify, make sure I understand the procedures. Were a couple of projects that were reinstated and as administrative, and that's because they did not have cost increases, right? There was no cost increase. There was other, they were done administratively rather.
Well, it was back in July. The reinstatement, we didn't want to hold a meeting solely to call you guys in for 2 seconds of voting on whether to reinstate them. Both projects had demonstrated that they were ready. Staff felt like we were confident that they could be accommodated, and there was no questions that we couldn't handle those. So that's why we're just making sure that you're aware of what we did back in July.
There's also several, there were reinstatements that happened to also have some cost increases, Those are part of what we.
Right. We would have been less favorable if they were asking for a cost increase of a sizable amount. We would have brought those to the committee.
Okay. And then for the other ones that were requesting advancement to 2026, a couple of them are being approved pending fiscal constraint. Those are the Metro ones. And then there's others that we're postponing presumably till November or something like that, or?
Yeah, we'll have a better idea once we do the federal carryover. We've got a whole list of projects that are scheduled for deferment. That doesn't mean that we will defer them because we'll look at the case. I mean, if they're on the November letting or January letting, it wouldn't make sense to defer them. We would kind of postpone the deferment, but so there's funding can shift around at the change of the federal fiscal year. And so we wanted to wait on those. They were also projects that were added with what we just approved back in June. So we wanted to hold off because technically that program is the 26 to 2030 program. So until the federal fiscal year starts on October 1st, we wanted to hold off on those.
Ones that are being recommended for improvement weren't in that category. They were already
These are existing projects. Yeah.
farther along. Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, I was going to ask a little bit more about the fiscal constraint. I mean, I think I overheard or I heard you say that this was a situation where there's existing contracts where we can utilize them to move those locomotives forward. Is that?
Yeah, with the large increase, the 72 million shift, they've got a contract. There's already been funds obligated as part of that larger contract. This is like a multi-year kind of situation. And so now that they've got a contract, if they can keep funds flowing into that contract, that keeps that contract going.
Okay. And that's probably good as far as just some of the cost aspects for the future years. So I don't have a concern with that. I do have a concern potentially of the fiscal constraints. So I'd be interested in just hearing what that looks like as we move along. I think all of this looks good. I'm in favor of it. I am concerned about the potential impacts for some of the other projects and
Yeah,
so,
and staff is like trying to keep an eye on that. Like, it's not that we're just trying to spend money, but we've also had years like where if like we have a chance to advance a large portion and spend down our unobligated balance, let's do that kind of situation. It's especially on the FHWA side where when we do have projects move forward, they go into AC. The AC doesn't come off our balance until it's converted. So we're always playing I don't want to call it a shell game because it's not, but it's the money doesn't always like just because a project moved forward come off the books. And so we need to be cognizant of that as well. With these FTA transfers, they will come off the FHWA balance when they are transferred to FTA.
okay.
I do know that we also have folks here from Metra and a couple of the other sponsors if there's any specific questions of them. So
I have a question regarding the switch locomotives.
yeah,
Is that by or postponing the decision on that, is that contract tied in with the other locomotive contracts?
I don't believe so. Like that was a brand new project.
Okay.
So that we just awarded that that project funding. I don't know if someone can, yeah, step up to the mic.
Hello, Rita Yaman from Metra. Our switch locomotive procurement is going to be advertised later this year, and we hope to award a contract in 2026 for 3 electric switch locomotives to work in our yards. It's not tied, all of these projects are separate efforts, but we would like to move forward, hopefully, and get that going next year.
Okay, thanks.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. I
Okay.
just want to make sure it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah,
If CMAP finds, the staff finds that there are fiscal constraints, is there a way to break this up further as far as, a portion of it, in order to allow them to go forward, but also allow the projects to go forward and
I think if we're able to accommodate the change, we probably won't go back to them, but like if like we just can't make the math work, staff would reach out to Metro to see if there was a different amount that we could work with it. And obviously, if we went with a different amount, we would keep the committee informed of that, like, yeah. But our goal is to try to accommodate everything as requested.
The other option is, of course, is to move some other projects into a further out year, right?
Right, and that's what we'd be looking at, and that's why we just didn't have all the answers, because to accommodate that large, it's not just like one project that we can shift out that's been delayed. There's gonna be a couple different projects, and we're hesitant to move stuff out, and especially if sponsors aren't aware of it, and we want to make sure that we're not causing them any trouble with advancing their project at a later date.
yeah, there's fiscal impacts by moving the locomotives or moving out those projects. I just know that a lot of the construction projects are also projects that have substantial cost increases on an annual basis and just trying to balance all that, so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wish we had a magic 8 ball, like we could shake those, like, we always have projects that are claiming they're ready to go. And then they get into the agreement process and the process of like right of way, and several projects that we've been watching recently were supposed to go this federal fiscal year, and they got hung up because of something outside of their control, but we still have to try to like keep our funds from the region's perspective moving and going forward.
Yeah, and the reality is we're carrying $107
Yeah, right.
million unobligated. Have you guys, I mean, I don't think we've ever run into an issue where we have obligated everything.
No, I
Jason
think
recently
it's,
was
Kama's looking forward to the day that she has to tell somebody no.
No, yeah.
Um,
Waiting.
because we've expended all of our funding for the region. I mean, yeah. And right now it's like, I've been wanting to reach out to Chris and say, hey, Chris, you need to start the discussion at IDOT, like how to reinstate the funds that were transferred to other programs, so that so that the state as a whole was obligating all the funds that we could. And that reinstatement process, I know is never going to be, it's not going to be easy for IDOT, but I'd like to make that call instead of like, oh, well, we're not quite there yet.
And you have a lot of tools that you can use. I mean, the risk of actually obligating everything and running into this theoretical issue where we can't advance a project that's on schedule
Right.
is,
We
There's-
haven't hit that yet.
Yeah. I'm fine with what's proposed.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the table.
We
Any
just
more
walk-
discussion?
Walk through, make sure that we understand though each recommendation of CMAP, what we're actually voting on.
Oh, yeah.
I had down for, and I'm gonna go through TUI.
Yep.
The staff recommendation was to approve. Park Forest, the recommendation was to postpone.
Yep.
Waukegan, the recommendations to approve.
Correct.
Zero emission of locomotives, the recommendation was to approve. Same with the alternative fuel locomotives. Edgebrook, recommendations to postpone.
Yep.
The switch locomotives, the recommendation is postpone. And the DuPage River Trail, the recommendations to approve.
That is correct.
Okay.
And I'd just like to add the fiscal constraint aspects for the Metro Zero emission locomotives and just as the staff report showed for those two that we were.
Yeah, pending the ability to make the
Subject,
funding
yep.
available in 2027 or 2026, sorry, for those transfer or those shifts in funds. Yeah. All right. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the changes are approved. Thank you. Moving on to item 6.0. So we're kind of, staff is wrapping up the approval of the 2026 to 2030 CMAQ and TAPL call for projects. They were approved on June 12th by the MPO Policy Committee. The CMAQ projects were found to be eligible for the program by FHWA and FTA. We are still getting the award letters out because there's quite a few of those. So some sponsors may have received their award letters, some have not yet. I know with the RTA's Access to Transit project, splitting that into the 5 different projects. So once that's done, we'll send out the award letter with those 5 different projects listed. But I just wanted to have this kind of like on your radar. So we're starting to take a look at like how we handled the programming of the funds, the evaluation measures, and just to kind of get you guys thinking about like, well, there are things that you want staff to take a look at in the next year while we prepare for the next call for project. Is there anything different? Do we want to keep the eligible project types the same? Is there some changes that you think make, and you don't have to answer me now. I'm just like trying to drum up the ideas, thoughts, so that we can kind of start putting those on paper and getting some thoughts and ideas down. So, but if you have something now, please share.
I'm sure you guys are already looking at this, but I think just any changes on the federal level to make sure that we are not risking our funding or approved projects. So
Yeah.
to just take those into account would be.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I mean, as far as eligibility, I don't think there were any changes on the types of projects that are eligible. I know in the last round, there were a couple of projects that applied for like direct emissions that would have required Buy America waivers. And we didn't have to do not fund those because of that, but staff was definitely aware that that would be a potential issue. Um, uh, that we may not want to proceed with those types of projects. We may include language to that effect in the next application book, not because we want to stop people from doing these projects, but because if things aren't moving, there'd be no sense in having someone fill out an application, go through that whole process, start like potential agreements on that. So that's one issue that may be, but I don't think there's anything that we're aware of that would stop the CMAQ program, other than we're coming up at the end of IIJA, so I haven't heard any rumors that CMAQ was going away, but you never know. I'm sure everything's on the table from a congressional perspective.
I think it's considered a core program now. I think when I first started, it was sort of, there was some confusion as to whether or not that it was going to continue into perpetuity. But I think when we get the numbers, at least at IDOT, I feel it's right up there with all the other ones, in my opinion. But I guess I'm biased. But to the point about the direct emissions, I sort of challenge anybody who did apply for that the last round, or anybody who's considering that type of project, if you are able to find a Buy America compliant product that would, meet the specs for what you're trying to do, I think it would be great to come to the committee and show us that. I don't have time to scrape the internet for everything, every single Buy America compliant tier, whatever locomotive. That's not my wheelhouse. But if something like that were to exist, and you were able to self-certify or present evidence that would lead us to believe that it would pass a Buy America inspection, which doesn't exist, sort of self-regulate. I mean, I would be interested in entertaining that, because the emissions benefits are pretty profound. I mean, when we used to do diesel retrofits, I mean, I remember you and I going and looking at a locomotive, and they score very, very, very well. So it's a challenge, I guess, to folks that supplied projects last round and are interested in that continuing to find something that would be compliant. It would be something I'd like to say, which I guess I just did. So
No, I will say that taking tier 0 locomotives and then making them it's maybe a little bit harder when we're not talking about like locomotives that are sitting at like 1950s technology. So all right, anything else? All right, well, we'll move on to other business. Staff does not have any other business. Is there any other business that members of the committee wish to bring forward? All right, seeing none, public comment. Is there anybody from the audience or online that wishes to address the committee today?
Yes, good morning. My name is John Paul Jones. I'm with Grow Greater Inglewood, but also with Sustainable Inglewood Initiatives. And I just want to thank you for this morning. We are going through some very strange seasons for appropriations. And certainly I know I'm doing double tasking today to try to monitor what's going on in Washington as well with the greenhouse gas emission hearings. And so the challenge is before us to kind of figure out ways to kind of stay ahead of the game in terms of what's possible for our region and what's possible for us to kind of get some agreement on locally. I do agree that I think CMAQ will be a fixture. I don't think any kind of policy is going to come out that says that they discard such operations to be in place. But I know we can find other ways locally and through the state to kind of maintain a good course to kind of move some things forward. But even most of the amendments that's being scheduled, I think there'll be a way for us to get public and private support to kind of maintain a host of different green initiatives as we go forward. And so I'm confident that things will work out. But again, I just appreciate the recommendations to kind of hold steady on some of your fiscal constraint concerns. I think that's very timely to do that right now. But again, thank you for this morning meeting.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? I'm not seeing anything online. Anybody else seeing anything? All right. Well, our next meeting is not scheduled until November 6th. And with that, I would take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much.